Hey everyone, if you've watched any new credit card YouTube videos in the last week, I'm sure you've been overwhelmed with the amount of credit card YouTubers talking about Chase's new elevated sign-up offers for the Chase Sapphire Reserve and the Chase Sapphire Preferred cards. And what I like to do on this channel is look at everything in the credit card world that's getting a ton of hype and dissect it to really see if it's worth the hype, if you should pay attention to it, or if this is blown out of proportion and you should ignore it. We did that with the Robinhood Gold card, we did that with the Built card, and now we're gonna do that today with the two elevated sign-up offers that everyone's talking about with the Chase Sapphire cards. But before we can talk about whether or not these elevated sign-up offers are worth it, we first have to understand why the Chase Sapphire cards are so valuable to begin with. And I'm not talking about comparing the Chase Sapphire Reserve to the Chase Sapphire Preferred or giving a list of all their benefits side by side or reviewing each card in its entirety. I'm happy to do those in a later video. But for now, I'll just put the link to Chase's comparison of the two cards down below. And that link also has the two elevated offers. That's not an affiliate link. I don't get anything from it. I'm just putting it there for you. And if you're interested in knowing what the best credit card for you is beyond just the Chase Sapphire Preferred versus the Chase Sapphire Reserve, then in my day job, I'm actually building an app where you'll be able to connect your existing credit card accounts. You'll be able to answer a few questions about your preferences, and then we'll compare your answers and your spending patterns to the benefits and multipliers from all the cards that are out there, and then we'll be able to tell you with certainty which credit card is best for you. But we won't just tell you which card is best for you right now, we'll monitor the card benefits and the card multipliers as they keep on changing and your spending patterns and habits as they keep on changing. And then we'll let you know whenever it's optimal based on your preferences, spending, and existing cards. We'll let you know whenever it's the perfect time for you to get your next card and which card that is. And so we put that all on autopilot so that if you don't want to think which credit card should I get or when should I get it, or watch another video like this ever again, right? Then you don't have to, because you'll be getting the maximum number of points that you can without having to think about it really whatsoever. But getting back to where we were in this video, I'll use a story from this year's NFL draft to really highlight why the Chase Sapphire cards are so important for people to have to begin with. For those of you that are familiar with football, I'm sure you're aware that the Chicago Bears had the #1 pick in the draft, and they also had another pick early on in the first round. And everyone knew that the Bears were going to take a quarterback with the #1 pick because they had just traded away their previous quarterback, Justin Fields. But the question was over what player are they going to select at 9. They had needs at the offensive line, which are the people who block so the quarterback doesn't get tackled. They had needs at wide receiver, which is the position that catches the ball from the quarterback. And they had a need for defensive linemen, which are the people on defense who try to tackle the other team's quarterback. And the Bears general manager basically said in a few interviews that he was going to have internal debates about which position group would be the most important for their football team to decide who they should use their second first-round pick on. And the way that he phrased it is the same reason why the Chase Sapphire cards are important. The way he phrased it was they're looking for a multiplier, a type of player that multiplies the impact that the other players on the team had. So to give you an example, a good quarterback makes everyone on the field better. They make the receivers better because the throws are on target and on time. They make the running backs better because people are so worried about the pass game that they then can't prepare as much for the run game. A good quarterback makes everyone look better. They multiply the performance of everyone. The same thing is true with the good offensive line, which are the people who block the quarterback. A good offensive line gives a quarterback more time to throw, gives the receivers more time to get open, which makes everyone on the offense better. And so ultimately, they wanted to pick the player that was the biggest multiplier for the rest of their team. Now, when it comes to the Chase Sapphire cards, yes, on their own, they have merit, and on their own, they may or may not be worth it for you. But looking at what they do to your wallet, they're probably the biggest multiplier that you can find in your wallet. Because if you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred or the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, they both give you these two special benefits. #1 is that they let you have an elevated value for your Chase points in the Chase Travel Portal. So if you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred, your points are worth 1.25 cents each on everything in the Chase Travel Portal. And if you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, instead of 1.25, it's 1.5 cents per point if you redeem in the Chase Travel Portal. Now, the reason that's interesting is because it's one of the easiest ways there is without using transfer partners to get more than 1 cent per point, and you get significantly more than 1 cent per point. Now, the second benefit that the Chase Sapphire Preferred and Chase Sapphire Reserve give you are they give you access to Chase's transfer partners, where if you'd like to get even more than 1.25 or 1.5 cents per point, you can actually transfer to any of their transfer partners, who I'll put on the screen right now, and their transfer partners can have redemption values sometimes higher than 2 cents per point. For example, on my honeymoon, my wife and I stayed at a property where we got almost 4 cents per point, and we booked that by transferring Chase points to Hyatt. Now, you might be thinking, these aren't multipliers, these are just nice benefits, until you realize that you can transfer points from most of your Chase branded credit cards. So that would be cards like your Chase Business cards, your Chase Freedom cards, your Chase Freedom Unlimited, Freedom Flex. You can transfer any of those points to Chase Sapphire points if you have one of the Chase Sapphire cards. And then that unlocks those other benefits for all of your other Chase cards. So if you had the Chase Freedom card that you had been using for years and you accrued 50,000 points on that card, those 50,000 points without the Chase Sapphire card are only worth 1 cent per point. You transfer them to the Chase Sapphire card and they're worth either 1.25 or 1.5 cents per point in Chase's travel portal, and up to even more than that with Chase's transfer partners. Now, it is important to know that if you get the Chase Sapphire Preferred or Chase Sapphire Reserve, you really have to be sure that you're using your points for the higher than 1 cent per point value if you can. I'll tell you a true example that just happened to me last week. I was talking with some family who has the Chase Sapphire Preferred card, and they told me, and this surprised me, that they got it because their friends told them it was a good travel card and they travel a lot. So I asked them, okay, which one do you have? They said the Chase Sapphire Preferred. I know the Chase Sapphire Preferred has a $95 annual fee. I know it has a $50 a year hotel credit. So I asked them, okay, let's figure out if this is actually worth it for you. Do you use the $50 a year hotel credit? And they said, what $50 a year hotel credit? And then I asked them, do you use your points to book travel through a transfer partner? And they had no idea how to do that. And then I asked them, okay, do you at least book your travel through the Chase Travel Portal, where you can get 25% more value for their points? And they said, no, I cash out my points as a statement value at 1 cent per point, and then I just book travel directly through the airline. So if you're into credit cards, you know right away that they aren't using most of the benefits that make this a good travel credit card. And so it's important to know when you get these cards how to use the points, at least in theory, even if you don't have a specific redemption that you're going to use it on. But needless to say, because of the ability to transfer all of your Chase points into Chase Sapphire points, and because of the added value in Chase Sapphire points versus ordinary Chase points, it is really valuable for your entire wallet if you're in the Chase ecosystem to get at least one of the Chase Sapphire cards. So there is one last piece of preliminary information before we can talk about the actual bonuses and get to our conclusion on whether or not that's worth it for you. And that is, we have to understand Chase's issuer rules. Now, issuer rules are just any rules that a credit card issuer has about whether or not you can get a credit card or how often you can take advantage of a credit card sign-up bonus. So the most famous Chase rule is Chase's 524 rule, where if you've opened at least 5 personal credit cards in the last 24 months, Chase will not approve you for any of their personal or business cards. Now, it's worth noting that business cards don't count towards 524, but they will not approve you for a business card if you're over 524. So just a side piece of advice, if you want to get below 524 and want to keep getting sign-up bonuses, one way to do that is to get business cards from other issuers, because those don't count towards Chase's 524 and you'll still be able to get approved for them. And then once you get below 5 personal cards in 24 months, then you're able to go back and start getting more Chase cards. Rule number 2 you have to be aware of is that you can't get a Chase Sapphire bonus within 48 months of getting another Chase Sapphire bonus. So for example, I am not eligible to get this Chase Sapphire bonus because I got my Chase Sapphire bonus when the public offer was 100,000 points in 2021. So I won't be allowed to get the Chase Sapphire bonus again until 2025. and that means you can either get the Sapphire Preferred or the Sapphire Reserve bonus. And the last issuer rule here that you need to know is that sometimes you'll be able to get duplicates of cards and still get the sign-up bonus again, but Chase will not give you the sign-up bonus for a Chase Sapphire card if you currently have another Chase Sapphire card. And so if you want to take advantage of this bonus and you currently have the Sapphire Preferred or Sapphire Reserve, you have to call Chase, get them to downgrade your Chase Sapphire card into one of Chase's no annual fee Chase Freedom cards, and then you wait 5 business days approximately, and you'll be able to then apply for the Chase Sapphire bonus, assuming you aren't limited by any of the other rules we just spoke about. Now that we've gone through all of that background information, we can finally get to the meat on the bone here, which is these actual elevated offers for each card. Now, to start, each card usually offers a 60,000 point sign-up bonus after you spend $4,000 on the card within 3 months. And that's a decently large sign-up bonus, but it's also nothing record-breaking, and they're known to elevate these offers from time to time. So this time, they've elevated the offer on both of these cards from 60,000 points to 75,000 points. So they've increased it by 25% or by 15,000 points, with the same $4,000 of spend within 3 months of opening the card. And if you're doing the math and you value these points at the 1 cent per point, then that's an 18.75% return on your spend during that sign-up bonus period. And if you value it at 1.25 or 1.5 cents per point, or if you use the transfer partners, maybe at 2 cents per point or even higher, right, then it could be worth up to $1,500 or more just from the sign-up bonus. Now, the Chase Sapphire Preferred has an added bonus here that the Chase Sapphire Reserve does not have, which is that if you go into a Chase branch and you ask them for the Chase Sapphire Preferred, you actually get a second additional sign-up bonus offer of an additional 10,000 points once you spend an additional $2,000 after you've hit the first sign-up bonus. So you have sign-up bonus number 1 is the public offer that we've seen online, which is 75,000 points for $4,000 in spend. And then if you spend an additional $2,000 in spend, you can get an extra 10,000 points, which is basically giving you 5% back on anything for $2,000 in spend. Now, the most recent elevated offers for these cards, like I said, I got the Chase Sapphire Preferred when it was 100K. We haven't seen that publicly in a long time. We have seen the Chase Sapphire Preferred send out targeted mailers where some people got offered 100K bonuses, but you can't count on that. So the last elevated offer for the Chase Sapphire Preferred that we saw was around 80,000 points, and it was in December of 2022, I want to say. And so every 12 to 18 months, they do give an elevated offer, and there is a chance that if you get the 75,000 or 85,000 in branch offer now, that you might make yourself ineligible for a 100,000 point offer 12 to 18 months down the road. But again, there's no guarantee that that's ever going to come. And so you might not want to wait that long because again, this is a multiplier card for the rest of your wallet. And then you're also waiting another 18 months that doesn't count towards your 48-month clock where you could wait and get another Sapphire bonus. When it comes to the Chase Sapphire Reserve, 80,000 is usually the highest you'll ever see, but I would like to caution you, because you're only allowed to get one of the Chase Sapphire bonuses, I would recommend for most people, unless the Chase Sapphire Reserve just makes all the sense in the world for you, or you aren't able to go in branch to get the 85,000 offer for the Chase Sapphire Preferred, I would recommend almost everyone get the higher offer with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, and then just product change by calling up Chase and telling them you want to switch to the Chase Sapphire Reserve, because then you're able to get the higher sign-up bonus from the Chase Sapphire Preferred, but you're still able to get the card that you actually want in the end. So I guess you've heard me ramble on a little bit. I'm sorry the explanation here hasn't been so organized, but the point that I'm making is that when it comes to the Chase Sapphire bonuses, ultimately, these aren't the highest bonuses we've ever seen, but there's no guarantee that we're going to see the higher sign-up bonuses that we've seen in the past. And given that you can get another Chase Sapphire bonus every 48 months, you might as well get the Chase Sapphire bonus whenever it's elevated and you're eligible, because even if the 100K offer comes out in 12 to 18 months, by then you're already halfway towards being able to get the entire sign-up bonus again, right? You don't want to set yourself back a year and a half in terms of getting this bonus every 4 years just because you wanted to wait for that perfect bonus that might never even come. So the final verdict here is that yes, this might not be the best you'll ever get, but this isn't a bad bonus. And if you don't have one of these cards and you have other Chase cards, it's definitely a huge multiplier on the rest of your wallet. So if you are thinking about getting one of these cards and it makes sense for you, definitely make sure to get it while there's an elevated offer at all, because you don't want to risk missing out on an extra 15,000 points. Or if you went in branch for the Chase Sapphire Preferred, another 25,000 points. So is this bonus worth the hype that every YouTuber and their mother is giving it? Not really, but is it a good offer that you should really think about? Yeah, of course. If you liked this video, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe. And reminder, if you want help understanding exactly which credit card to get without having to guess whatsoever, then it would really mean a lot if you would sign up for Pointwise. I'll leave the link for that down in the description below also.